It's a good thing God brought you here because, we intend to liberate you here because you're all slaves. And mostly to animals who are not slaves to bullshit, the highest forms of living beings on this planet. Welcome to the Roseanne Barr Podcast.
Oh, you see, my patience is growing thin.
Here we are, and you know how I love to talk to geniuses. I have the genius of all geniuses. As a matter of fact, I have to tell this story. My mom used to run a daycare, and she had this little boy there, and he told my mom, boys have a penis and girls have a vaginius, which I just always loved. And my guest today is a vaginius, a woman who, she's a woman among women. She's like top level woman. She's the reason we broke through the curtain of bullshit that was holding us down since, since right after World War II, Operation Paperclip. She's the one that exposed it all and why we are where we are today, why we have Trump as our president, why we're all fighting the good fight for the sake of the children of this world. She's my oldest and dearest friend, Cathy O'Brien. Hi, Cathy.
Hi, it's so good to be here with you.
Second time you've been.
Yeah, this is the second time. But the first time in 2 years, which we were saying, we got to do another one. We did that Sean, what's his face?
Yeah, that we've done some great interviews together, but I'm looking forward to being together, eye to eye with you again, where, we're in the same room. It's been too long since we've actually been together. And I'm looking forward to that because you're such an inspiration and a genius and so fun to be with. And our conversations are always so profound and deep. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also looking forward to what information we can bring to light together today.
Yeah, let's jump right in. Jake, what was the question you asked her? Because I said we got to start with that. Was it about Epstein?
Well, it was about specifically the handling of the Epstein files by Pam Bondi and Cash and Trump and this administration, because I bring it up every week on this podcast. I'm not happy with the direction, but Mom, you always tell me there's this greater plan in place. So I asked Cathy during the pre-interview what she thought, and that was my question.
What do you think, Cathy?
That was my question.
I'm excited by what's going on because Mark and I used to discuss this at length. What would it take to unravel the new world order, this globalist agenda that's permeated all aspects of society, from education, churches, governments, it just really everything. They've permeated everything. What would it take to stop the corruption? What would it take to stop the dumbing down of humanity into compliant little slaves in their globalist slave society agenda? And we realized that ultimately, regardless of what happens on a political end, the most important part is going to be up to each and every one of us to wake up and do our part, to realize that this global swamp can't be drained from the top down. It has to be drained from the bottom up. And that's going to take us all. And that's going to take us all reclaiming our free thought, free will, soul expression, our strength of spirit, where we align with each other and join on that level naturally and start restoring morality, decency, and the brilliance to the brains that we have been blessed with. It's time, but it's going to take all of us. So I'm not so upset at what I'm seeing politically. It's going to take a long time for that system to clean up. In the meantime, there are children being rescued everywhere from the child sex trafficking rings, the human trafficking, drug trafficking, especially child sex trafficking, are the funding mechanism of this globalist agenda. We need to defund the New World Order, stop child sex trafficking, and that's exactly what people are starting to do. So they're taking that action because the children can't wait for this system to clean up. It's going to take a long time. We're seeing how long it takes. We're seeing how long it takes to even just drag through one thread of this tapestry with the Epstein files.
Mhm.
It's going to take a while.
Do you specifically?
Well, what? Go,
No,
Jake.
last question. Do you just? I know we want to get off the political, and I agree with you about that. We all have to do this together, but specifically, this administration, Trump and Bondi and et cetera, are they doing the right thing? I know they're arresting and doing other things, but in regard to the Epstein files and that global system, do you feel happy that they're tearing through it, or you think they're covering it up, or any of that? Because I feel like they might be covering it up.
I definitely don't feel like it's being covered up. There's more involved in this than people realize. There's the whole blackmail network. We need to know who's holding the blackmail for what purposes. Who are the perpetrators at the top of this? Who are these self-appointed, self-anointed global leaders that are dehumanizing humanity in order to align us with flat-thinking AI and with their flat-thinking criminal agenda? You know, it's gotta stop. And in order to unravel all that, you know, this is just one thread they need to pull. The blackmail tapes themselves are one form of evidence. We got to have a justice system to prosecute these pedophiles and perpetrators through. We don't have a justice system in place yet. They've been running it for too long to cover up their crimes against humanity. Yeah. They invoke national security or anything else and just keep going. Yeah. So it's going to take a while. And right now, what we need to know is what exactly is this agenda all about? What are they doing with the children? How can this many children be missing? What are they doing harvesting our children? What is the adrenochrome all about? We need to get to the very bottom of this and take down the puppet masters at the top. So rather than using, you know, now that this administration has got the hold of the blackmail tapes, if they play another man's game and use blackmail to the blackmailers, it's not going to accomplish as much as they can if they just use their information gained as leverage against this whole global network that's been gaining control for generations now. It's going to take a while to unravel.
Okay. Well, Cathy, as a child, you were part of the building of that international network, weren't you? You were used as a child sex slave in order to build that international network of pedophiles that sit at top of every government and every NGO and everything, right?
Absolutely. And my uncle was a part of the blackmail network in distributing the tapes, and he was flying a lot of them to the Vatican. The Vatican has a huge vault of these blackmail tapes. That's a big piece of a puzzle right there, and that's only one piece of this puzzle. When we get to the top of, you know, who's doing this and why, we start to understand. And having been exposed to that, I was used in the blackmail videos myself at the Epstein Island of its time, Mackinac Island, Michigan. So I was among these global perpetrators, and I know how far-reaching this is, how deep it goes, and how long they've been doing it and getting away with it.
You were sold by your father into the MK Ultra child altering, terrorizing, torture machine of the CIA, U.S. government, weren't you? What if one capsule a day could help you feel full, reduce your cravings, and actually enjoy eating less? Meet Appetite from the Wellness Company, a groundbreaking formula that helps you take control of your hunger, boost metabolism, and feel fuller longer. Akkermansia, a next-generation probiotic shown to boost GLP-1, the hormone that controls the appetite and metabolism. It's paired with saffron, I love saffron, to curb emotional eating, a big deal, reduce stress, and support balanced serotonin levels. No stimulants needed. Appetite also includes GLP-1 and GLP-2 activating probiotics, plus probiotics like inulin and green banana to keep you satisfied and support gut health. It's time your gut controls your thoughts and your mind takes a break with a unique combination of amazingness engineered into one convenient capsule ready to work naturally with your body. Head to twc.health/RB and use the code RB to get 10% off plus free shipping. Again, that's twc.health/RB. Use the code RB to get 10% off. Take control of your health with the Wellness Company.
And I just want to say, we are not funded by Qatar like other podcasters. We don't get payments to push fake narratives. So supporting our advertisers is the best way to keep us going.
Yeah, I was. There's so many children that have been in a position like I was, but there's not that many who've survived. I mean, look at all the people who've even tried to expose this mess, how many have been dying. And, we've got to get some justice restored to the system, and people need to start seeing some accountability for actions, because right now there's
Don't you think people need to first demand accountability, which the American people, that seems to escape them, that they have the right to demand of this government accountability for what's happened to the children of this country and every country where these long hands of crime have toppled governments to get at their kids, every evil thing that they have been involved in. Don't you think, because our tax dollars pay for it all, that we have the right and the responsibility to demand the accountability of our government?
Well, I think the people are doing it. The people have been demanding it for a long time. It's just the media is not giving us voice. They're not saying that we're being heard. So many of us were awake and aware 2016 that we overrode the rigged electronic algorithm in the voting machine to put in a president who wasn't Hillary Clinton and her New World Order, to put in a president who exposed their funding mechanism of drug and human trafficking, showed us there was a swamp in Washington, D.C. And that woke even more people up. Then in 2020, these perpetrators were so desperate to regain control, they unleashed mind control masked as a virus on the global population. Everybody got a taste of mind control. Then that raised awareness that much more, because these fools, they're so stupid. They messed up, and they told everybody to shelter at home. Mind control needs to shut down neuron pathways in the brain. Trauma causes them to shut down. Fear causes them to shut down. That's what they need to use. But where they made their mistake is having a shelter at home. Because when people broke their routine patterns, it forced their brains to fire in new ways.
Right.
And it got those neuron pathways opening. So they made a big mistake, and people were sheltering at home and saying, hey, what are our kids being taught in the school system? What is this sexualization of children going on? They started talking to each other, and it really just woke more people up. So, we've got this massive movement now. The Great Awakening is real. But like my daughter Callie was saying the other day, wow, this Great Awakening is past critical mass, but now people have a long way to go to catch up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information they've got to learn. There's a lot they need to open their eyes to in order to be effective in dismantling this mess and preventing it from ever happening again. So it's quite a journey.
Your book, Transformation of America, which is your testimony before Congress, you were detailing the child trafficking at the border like decades ago. That was part of your story too, isn't it?
Yeah. And my 1995 testimony for Congress, every bit of it was validated. That's why national security was invoked on it. Clean members of law enforcement and intelligence had it validated. Secret Service. There's a lot of good people in key positions who've been doing their best to dismantle this mess, fully realizing that until people open their eyes and realize how vast manipulation has become, to realize mind control sliding scale from the kind of torturous, robotic MK Ultra mind control I experienced on a White House Pentagon level, to the kind of mind control MK Ultra going on in Hollywood that you're aware of, to information control, because we all formulate our thoughts, opinions, and actions based on what we know. We need to know that knowledge base has been altered for a long, long time, very deliberately, to dumb us down and to keep us from knowing how to take action ourselves. We've been conditioned so long to look to big government, big pharma, big tech, big cult to cult religion to tell us how to live our lives. But we forgot. We got all the power. We forgot to look within and align with that divine within and tap in to that power, because that's our victory. That's where we win. That's where they lose. That's what they're afraid we're going to do. So they instead keep us bombarded with trauma after trauma, suppress truth and information. Even though the information on child sex trafficking has come out, even though people have seen what's happening on our borders, how they're being turned into a corrupted so-called child protective services system, and then trafficked right from there, turned back out, because the same people own the whole corrupt system. So people are
including
starting to
the
realize
media,
that.
including the media. The media is what keeps us blind to it, right?
Yes, they do. And then again, the area where I'm working in, speaking out nationally now, all across the nation, empowering people to be effective in helping the children, because the people started taking action themselves. When Trump was reelected this time, the obstacles that have been put in everyone's way from being able to take action themselves have been removed.
The bureaucracy that kept it all in place, because that's how people were getting paid on their government jobs, is to keep the devilish, the satanic empire in place. That's what they were working for, not the U.S. government or the people.
Absolutely. And now the people are so fed up with that, and they're just taking action themselves. But as they're taking action, they're realizing they don't know how to help these children. They can give them a safe place to be, but what do they do from there? And that's the information that I'm sharing, because
can you tell us about that information and what you are sharing? And I know you're part of a whole growing network across this country of basically moms and some dads and grandparents, but American citizens that are offering redemption to these children who've been so damaged.
Yeah, the information I used for healing was suppressed under national security. It's our birthright information, but it was suppressed ever since the 1947 National Security Act went into place in the wake of the World War II, when we imported the Nazi and fascist scientists into the U.S. with Project Paperclip. With them came the formula for mind control. Well, our information on mind brain function, that's our natural defense against mind control, our ability to heal from any trauma, was suppressed and buried under national security. It was withheld from the mental health community, the medical community, from the education system. Pertinent information the medical system doesn't have, like our subconscious never sleeps. If the medical community knew that, in the course of surgery, they could say healing, affirming thoughts instead of, whoa, look at this mess, drama that only adds to the difficulty in recovering from surgery. There's some very simple mind-brain functions that have been suppressed for a long time. When Mark saw it buried under national security,
I want to say your husband. I wanted to say your husband, Mark Phillips, who was a white hat before they even had that word.
Yeah.
And he was in doing business in China way back when that was new. And isn't it the Chinese that told him about how so many business folk from America coming there were actually compromised by pedophilia?
Yes, and there were those in China that were doing all they could at the time to restore free thought to the people. This was a global agenda, and there was a global movement, and they had alerted Mark to the fact that my daughter Kelly and I were slaves. They had information on our circumstance, and Mark decided to do something about it, and lifted Kelly and I right out of the Washington D.C. human trafficking swamp, and handed us keys to our own mind, that birthright information that was buried under
So
national security.
he liberated that buried on purpose information for how to heal, right? He liberated that from the dark hats.
He did. He wasn't able to reveal it himself because he was bound by laws of sedition, but it was my experience to heal with it. So I could release the information. I'm not bound by any laws of sedition. Besides, it's humanity's birthright information about the resiliency of our body, mind, and spirit. So yeah, I not only have I released it in PTSD Time to Heal, as you so well know, because you wrote the on the back of it, attesting to it since you had met Mark and knew about these methods yourself. This is just easy for anyone to self-apply. So this is what I'm teaching others right now, how to be effective in helping the children, is for them to first remember their own birthright information and then empower the children with it. It's all such a natural process because, ultimately we were made perfect. Our brains are perfect. Our brains have so much healing capacity. Our bodies are perfect. We don't need 79 vaccines to survive.
What I just read the other day, I read something where they're finding out that dandelions have a property that kills cancer.
There's so many simple ways when we go back to nature.
Cathy, can I ask you a question? Real quick, you said Mark found this healing information was buried under national security. I don't want to gloss over that because you have to tell me more about that. That's fascinating. How is it? But what did he stumbled upon classified information, or what does that mean?
He was in military intelligence,
and he saw there was ways that the military understood we could heal from trauma, and they buried it under national security.
Yeah, he was above military intelligence. Actually, he was very high up. He could wear any hat, and he saw how mind control was being used on the global population. He saw how it was being used to overtake nations, and he was very disturbed by the pedophile agenda, which is really a mind control agenda, because people didn't know the effects of trauma on the human mind, that sexual abuse of a child prior to age 5 while the brain is still forming creates a compliance for the rest of their lives because it shuts down neuron pathways in the brain.
Right.
And if people had that information, they would understand that pedophilia is not a sexual preference. It's not a perversion. It's a control mechanism.
100%.
And it's intended to dumb down humanity. We are devolving because of the generational implementation of this. But in order for them to be able to use mind control to that degree, they had to take away our knowledge that is our defense against it. They had to take away our birthright knowledge on our own mind-brain function so they could manipulate us by it and subject us to trauma after trauma. So when Mark saw that, and it's humanity's birthright information, he wanted to find a way to release it. And it's so important because with that information buried under national security, the mental health community was taught to promote the victim mentality, to keep people locked into it. If people aren't thinking free and they're locked into that victim mentality, they stay in fear mode. They're in survival mode all the time.
Yeah,
and
all the time.
If they perpetuate that very deliberately, then that has really caused a lot of problems now for survivors who want to heal, but are given really bad therapy, really bad information. And ultimately, the answer is if you look outside yourself for answers, then that's going to be more intrusive information in, and your brain is not going to accept it. The brain is overwhelmed with this intrusion and shuts down. It won't heal. It needs to be safe from intrusion. So we don't need invasive therapy. We don't need these online therapy courses that artificial intelligence is offering. What the heck is that? Talk about looking outside yourself. But not only that, they're collecting all the data on how to repress the information further in order to keep people compliant and keep them from remembering secrets, to keep them from remembering details of what goes on in the Epstein Islands and all these victims that have been subjected to that. They can just shut them right down. They act like they're giving them therapy. They're only collecting information. And they got the idea from the Vatican. Go back to the confessionals. And how the mafia would go in there and tell all their sins, and they'd blackmail them. They've been in the blackmail business forever. So they thought, well, we'll just keep using that method and get people to tell us their secrets, and then keep them repressed. So anytime people look outside themselves, they're being locked into a victim mentality by design. We need to remember who we are, why we're here, go within, access our simple, resiliency, and start reclaiming our free thought. Get our brains firing again the way they're supposed to. We have brilliant minds. We need to take them back.
What a crime against humanity. What a horrible crime against humanity. All of this fake news, fake science, fake everything. It's fake spirituality, fake religion, fake everything, just to keep children available for pedophiles.
Yeah, and fake medical community. Look at it. They are trained and indoctrinated by big pharma, who runs the schools, follow the money, and they're training them to turn everything over to big pharma. So they're making money by treating so-called illnesses that they usually create with the vaccines. They treat them, but they don't cure anything. It's taking the resiliency of our physical healing away from the whole medical community. So we got this assault on mental health.
I think it's a part of what Jeffrey Epstein did, because what he did on the island was, I think that stuff dwarfs what he really did, which was to change all the laws in the world about money and invent a thing called vampire capitalism, which pretty much means that the human beings are prey to the ones at the top of the financial pyramid. And they can make them sick, and then they can take bets on how they die or how they can, quote unquote, treat their doctor-caused illnesses and make more money that way. The human beings are Soylent Green, basically, that movie. And he invented that. His financial crimes are far worse. Plus, he wrote with the bankers all of these laws that destroyed national sovereignty of every country, the banks. He was their puppet. And of course, all that goes to the people at the top, which are the kings, the queens, the popes, the wizards, the Nazis of the Fourth Reich. That's what the New World Order is. And am I wrong, Cathy?
Well, that's takes us back to the original question, Jake, that about why I'm not upset about how long this is taking with the Epstein files, because it's so much more involved than most people realized, and there's so much more going on than people realize to dismantle this whole global network that's been going on for so long. And that's just Epstein's part.
Yeah.
You get to the The Clintons, and George Bush Sr., what he did was just massive.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many others, and he's just one. And they're subpoenaing the Clintons to testify. What? Epstein would have testified against them. It's just this is I don't know what they expect to find and what's really going on, but I don't even follow it, because to me it's a charade to get to a much, much, much bigger outcome in unraveling this mess, because this effort to unravel the New World Order, the slave society agenda, and restore free thought to humanity has been going on for a long time. It's been going on behind the scene. Now we're seeing what they're doing a little bit, but a lot of it's smoke and mirror illusion, because people wouldn't understand the reality of what they're actually doing, because it's so complicated. They need to have the ABCs before they, get to this postgraduate understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the media and all even, the internet, they hide the real agents behind the mass murder of humanity. They continue to do that. And it's just a sickening. We are in a fight for our lives, though.
We are. It's in Transformation of America, where George Bush at Bohemian Grove said that if they lost control over the minds of the population, they'd reduce our numbers to a more manageable size. So, and then you look back, all the way back to Gerald Ford when he was president, and he had Henry Kissinger and George Bush and Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld, who gave us aspartame to dumb us down, and Jack Valenti, head of the Motion Picture Association of America, controlling our information. He had all of them in his cabinet. You can look all the way back on the Ford administration with Henry Kissinger. They came up with the first depopulation agenda back then, because they were concerned that they weren't managing the minds of the people well enough. That's when Jack Valenti gave us the term conspiracy theory for anyone questioning the media narrative.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, anyone who sees the truth is a conspiracy theorist. Boy, that's a great reversal. They're just great at reversal. I mean, they're great at it. Our old friend Julia coined the phrase "perverse reverse."
Yeah, well, it's like with the term conspiracy theorist, they say that about me, and it won't come out of Wikipedia for anything. But the fact is, Transformation of America, my 1995 testimony was censored under national security because every bit of it had been validated. So how can I be a conspiracy theorist if they invoke national security? Do they invoke national security on conspiracy theories?
Very good
on
point.
A theory? I mean, come on. If that's the case, then there's good excuse right there to revamp this so-called National Security Act.
Wow.
Yeah, everything's actually the opposite of what they say, because they reverse the truth. So it's like the National Insecurity Act is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever they get scared. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Patriot Act is the Globalist Anti-Sovereignty of America Act.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, whatever they call it, we always say this. Whatever they're doing is called, it's the opposite. Mom always says that. That's how
and it comes from the ultimate is the bankers. All the banks are called trust and
fidelity
and trust.
Yeah.
While they're stealing the blind and
investment,
make fake bubbles that then burst and buy up everything they stole from you at dirt prices.
Can I ask a question to Cathy? Do you mind? Satanic ritual abuse, trauma-based mind control, what you're talking about with pedophilia as a mechanism of control. Is it satanic from the satanic religion that they taught this to the Nazis, that it works? Or is it the other way around? Or are they just all kind of smart and go, hey, if you traumatize a child, you can basically get what you want? It's weird that I guess what I'm saying is that there's parallels with Satanism and the world government, unless it's the same thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because it's a scientific formula for mind control. A trauma is the basis of it. And when you consider that the Hitler-Himmler research found there's no trauma more horrific than sexual abuse of a child prior to age 5 while the brain is still forming. They also found that right there next to it is satanic ritual abuse because it's blood trauma. Mm-hmm. It's torture. It's horrific to see someone being murdered right in front of you, especially a child, so you've got extreme trauma that's associated with that. And people like my primary MK Ultra mind control programmer, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, who is part of the occult temple is set on military bases for mind control purposes.
Yeah, they got in there by saying freedom of religion includes Satanism.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't even believe in satanic power per se. He believed in his own power using trauma and a stun gun. So it's compound usury situation of the effects of trauma. You go back to the Spanish Inquisition and the Crusades. They were murdering people left and right who didn't comply with the Vatican back then. Mm-hmm. So all the way back then. And the spoils of the war were the children. And those children, the Catholic orphanages were born. And the children were being raised in there to perpetuate the church, to become the priests of the future. And subjecting them to more trauma made them more compliant. So they used the Satanism. And so you get this reversal, the perverse reverse again, the reversal of the Catholic Mass into the Satanism, and it causes the brain to compartmentalize that much more. So that's why they've been using it for a long time.
They do it to Catholic children. They do it to Catholic children, incredible numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, all religions have been infiltrated, yeah. And satanic abuse spans so many different versions of it. Yeah. Even all the way down to the Haitian voodoo and
mm-hmm. Yeah, every religion mm-hmm. is infiltrated and corrupted mm-hmm. because of child mm-hmm. sexual abuse. And then the job of the community is to protect the pedophiles, not the children.
Right.
And it's everywhere in every religion.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and that's making it difficult because the churches have been infiltrated and the people indoctrinated to give power away to evil, and like it's the ultimate control mechanism. It's not. We have been blessed,
and it's satanic. I'm going to say this too. The satanic part of it is that they tell them that's God.
Oh,
they tell the children that's God. They tell the children that Satan is as powerful as God, which he ain't. Evil is not as powerful as good.
It's not. It's an illusion. It's all an illusion.
People always choose good. I mean, if they're right in the head and the heart, they have to be forced to choose evil. That's the truth.
That's the mind control. That is when mind control is used, because people, when they're who they intended to be, who they know who they are and why they're here, and have that strength of spirit, then that is these perpetrators' greatest fear. Having been around them deep in the swamp, that's what they fear the most, is the strength of the human spirit and the infinite power of love. It's the highest vibration. It's the strongest force. It's our victory. It's our natural victory. And they're afraid we're going to remember that we have all the power, and they only have as much power as we give them or let them steal. In that regard, the mind control agenda is a spiritual warfare, because mind control is used to keep us from tapping into that strength, to remembering our power. It's used to separate us from that. They can't possess it. They can't stop it. That'd be like dark creeping in on light. They can't reach it. It's too high of a vibration.
Dark is incapable of destroying light. You go in a
Right.
room, it's dark, you turn the light on, all the dark is gone. You don't go
That's
in
right.
the light room and turn the dark on.
Right.
I
That's
guess
right.
you do. You turn the light off.
Turn the light off.
I guess
Trauma-based mind control. That's what she's saying. That turns your life off.
Exactly.
That's what it does.
But it's
Exactly.
internal, and we have light, or we wouldn't be alive.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. And well, it's our birthright. You know, it goes right back to birthright knowledge and remembering who we are and why we're here. Stop.
Why are we here, Cathy? Why are we here? Why are we here?
Oh, to live the love we are, to unite, to shine the light and expose what's going on in the darkness, to stop this evil from creeping in on humanity ever again. They have no business meddling with our brilliant minds and lives, but they've been doing it a long, long time because we haven't looked within to remember. We've only looked outside ourselves to, you know, the big government, big pharma, these self-appointed, self-anointed global leaders, the big tech, big cult religion, you know, telling us how to live our lives. We go within, we have it all. We remember. And that is ultimately, I think, a major purpose of life is to be able to live the love we are, to be able to reclaim that alignment, to align with the divine within, not without, not outside us, to align with the divine within.
Yeah, because we are divine creations.
Mm-hmm.
We are.
We're a divine being, and they don't want us to know that anyway. I wanted to ask you, because you know so much about what was done to kids, I wanted to ask you about another one of your handlers, or whatever you call it, was Robert S. Byrd, right? And he brought that education into the schools of how to teach kids what to think and not how to think, right?
Yeah, Byrd was in office for over 50 years. You know, we need to get some term limits in Congress. That's ridiculous. They're not going to vote it in for themselves. You know, people are going to have to wise up and demand it. But he was in for over 50 years in the highest positions of power and influence, holding our country's purse strings, deciding where money was going to be spent. And he made sure all of it went towards globalism. While he spoke about the Constitution for people to hear, he was eroding the Constitution with where the money was being spent. And he made the states reliant on federal funding in the education system. We don't need the federal government reigning over education. We need to get it back to the states. We need to get it back to local levels and get parents involved again, not have government dictate what's going to be taught in the schools. But he set it up that way so that they could have their, because there's not that many of them. They wanted those puppet masters to be able to start manipulating everyone else. And they started indoctrinating the children in the school system, teaching them what to think instead of how to think.
Mm-hmm.
And but that was no accident, because he was also a Ku Klux Klanner. Right. And so don't you think that a lot of those government things that he set up for, you know, federally controlled education were based on a hatred of the black race?
Hey guys, it's Jake here. As you know, I'm an old middle-aged man who's graying and bald, and I have 2 daughters and a wife, and I need to take care of them. So life insurance is something that I look into all of the time. But as I was investigating and talking to my brother-in-law Josh, who many of you know from republiclifenow.com and the annuities program that we sold, the guy's a genius. He told me about a new product that is part of the life insurance, you know, parachute, if you will, but it's called Living Benefits, and it's going to change the game. And I wanted to tell you about it because you guys got to get into it right now. And essentially what it is it's a life insurance policy. You pay it, the whole thing. And then if something, God forbid, happens and you, while you're alive, need that money, you don't have to wait until you're dead for it to go to your family when it could have helped save your life. With Living Benefits, you can access your own life insurance policy payout, or whatever you want to call it,
while you're alive. Let's say you get a catastrophic illness or get caught on fire or something horrible happens. You can pull from your own life insurance policy and save your own life. Go to republiclifenow.com, check it out. Make sure you ask for the living benefits life insurance because it's a separate part of life insurance. I don't want to get too technical, but just think about it. You can actually potentially save your own life with your own life insurance policy. It's a game changer, and I highly recommend you do it.
It was just based on hatred all around. He was my owner in MK Ultra and he dictated all my actions. He became my owner when I was 13 years old, and I met him at the Epstein Island of its time, Mackinac Island, Michigan. He's the one who had an office in the FBI building in the mid 80s to set up the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children as a catch net operation for trafficked children so that they could scoop them up and put them into the corrupted Child Protective Services. Any court case.
And then be trafficked to Washington, D.C.
Absolutely. And around the world. And however else they were going to harvest them and use them.
Like we said, it's always the opposite. So the Center for Exploited Children, of course, that's how you know they're using it to exploit children. Yeah.
Yes, there's so many people.
The shit they name stuff just gives them away, doesn't it? They think we're that stupid. They think we're that brainwashed.
When we start to learn to listen, when we gain eyes to see, ears to hear, and soul to know truth again, we'll start seeing through this illusion. There's so many children now that have been medically kidnapped or taken in illegal, immoral ways through a corrupted justice system under the guise of national security and thrust into it. Everybody knows someone who's had a child taken into that custody. My own daughter was taken into the corrupt system that I saw Bird setting up. And it was an absolute outrage. And ultimately, that's what compelled me to start speaking out to begin with, was to draw attention to her plight. It wasn't hatred. Hatred's low vibration. That's their vibration. They're not going to get hatred and fear from me. I'm going to live the love I am. That's out of their reach, So, and love for Kelly was what compelled me to speak out. And what keeps me speaking out today is love for her, love for humanity, love for the children. I'm going to keep speaking out until people are able to wrap their minds around the reality that we share this planet with some real dark, negative force perpetrators. We need to face that reality and realize they only have as much power as we give them or let them steal.
And they also, just like in the old vampire myths, which I think are real, I think they were written by people who knew that there were blood drinkers. And they tried to warn us through those stories, but there's just too many people who know now. There's too many people who lived through it. There's too many people who survived it. And it just can't be hidden anymore.
It's not being hidden like they wanted. It's been exposed. Now it's just a matter of unraveling this mess. And it's going to take a lot to do it, which brings us right back around to, what this administration is doing within a corrupt government, even, with so much opposition right there in DC, and they're still working diligently to unravel this mess while waking up the people to do their part. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I also wanted you to talk for a minute. It's a shocking and stunning thing, but I want you to say it. That because this shows how our government works or worked before Trump. Because we both love Trump, right? We love him.
Well, look at all the awareness he's raised. Awareness is the first step towards positive, necessary change. It doesn't mean I agree with every political thing that he does, but this is bigger than politics, and what he did is bigger than politics, waking people up. That's phenomenal. Anybody who lives their life's purpose so so beautifully to make that much difference in the world, should be honored for that. The media couldn't, the these perpetrators couldn't stop him. They couldn't blackmail him. They couldn't buy him out. He had his own money. They couldn't threaten him. He had his own security. They couldn't do anything to stop him. And he's been outraged since the mid 80s that I know of, with the child sex trafficking and MK Ultra and everything else. And they couldn't stop him. So the best they could do is media assassination, try to take him down by making people think that he's, one of them. Why do you expose him if he's one of them? It doesn't make any sense. But the media has manipulated the population to such a degree in so many ways that this is just one more thing that they did, was do a character assassination. They attempted to do that with you too. And just like Trump, you bounce back. You're not going to take that. And the people didn't believe it anyway. And no matter how many times the media repeated it, and repetition is the most basic form of mind control. No matter how many times the media repeated it, the people knew better. They still know better. Now we need to know, what can we do? And
well, I want to know what I want to hear what you say about the fact, and it's in Transformation of America, your testimony before Congress. I can see why they said it's against national security, because basically one of the pedophiles who assaulted you as a child became the unelected president of the United States. Can you talk about that?
About Ford? Yeah. My father was, since I was born into a multi-generational family, my father...
a multi-generational incest family.
Yeah, incest, and my father was also ritually abused and was passing that part down. My mother was sexually abused and trafficked to my grandfather's Blue Masonic Lodge. These secret societies was where secrets on mind control are kept. These places where these perpetrators meet in secret, is where they keep perpetuating it. And secrecy is our problem. We need truth out there. We need the knowledge that's our defense against mind control. We need truth that makes us free. But MK Ultra was already in full swing by the time I was born into that mess in 1957 in Muskegon, Michigan. By 1960, I was being trafficked to my grandfather's Blue Masonic Lodge, just a little itty bitty toddler. I was trafficked to a local politician of the time, Gerald Ford. Of course, Gerald Ford went on to become the unelected president of the United States. As his political career escalated, so too did my victimization in MK Ultra mind control. And his political career escalated to the office of president because he covered up the Kennedy assassination as head of the Warren Commission. And because that's when this globalist agenda took a stronghold on our country. When Kennedy opposed them and opposed this agenda, they eliminated him and assassinated him and took him out. And then they took control of our country then. They also put in the electronic voting machines in the wake of the Kennedy assassination so that they could...
That's what it was about.
Rigged. Yeah, they were rigged since their inception to put these perpetrators in positions of power through the rigged elections. And that's how they gained control. That's what they did right up until 2016, when so many of us were awake and aware. We overrode the rigged electronic algorithm. So that was 2016. Look at us now. We got this. We got the victory. We just need to understand the details now going forward, and what we can do to effectively take back our freedom and preserve the sanctity of free thought going forward. Protect our children.
Well, tell us a little bit about the organizations that you're involved with that do this good work, Cathy.
A lot of them are just groups of people in various places around the country, like the Rev 17 in Yuba City, California. They're taking action. It's a church-based organization that isn't about just preaching and talking. They're about action. They heard about the children that were being rescued and realized they didn't have a safe place for the children. And so they wanted to open up a safe house so the children wouldn't be thrust back into the Child Protective Services and just recycled into the system. So the people got together and raised millions of dollars for the opening of the safe house, the construction of it, and the education of the people working it to effectively help children. That's where I came in and where I still come in. And there's so many of these that are opening up everywhere. I'm also very pleased I'm going to be speaking in Minneapolis with ARC, the Association for Rescuing Children, that works under the America's Future Project. I'm so excited about that because that gives a strong national outreach from local levels. They say the local action has national impact. Well, that national impact has global impact, and that's where we're speaking and arming people with information. So whether it's an organization of concerned citizens, if it's patriots, if it's whoever it is, if it's an organization as honorable as and well-rooted as America's Future, we don't have any obstacles in our way now. We can take the action. We can help each other.
Because you're not taking government money, right?
Right. No government money. This is people helping people. Instead of people giving their money away to foundations like the Clinton Foundation, they're doing it locally where they can see where it's going, where they can see what's actually being done.
Because you're building the safe house in your community.
Yes.
With your community's assent and sponsorship.
You have to protect those too, because they're going to be infiltrated if they start working. So we have to be very vigilant if this is the way to go.
But we have Dr. Lois Lee, who she's laid the archetype for how to do it without government interference and have an 85% success rate to rescue child prostitutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
that's it.
It's just thinking outside of the box that Bird and all them pedos created for us.
Right. And to realize that there's not justice through the justice system. So, we've got to be mindful of that and be wise in how we operate. That goes right back to what Mark always said from the get-go. Wisdom outthinks their criminal mind every time. Mm-hmm. Because when we have soul, we have discernment of truth, when we have compassion for each other, when we have the height and depth of the strength of spirit, we have the wisdom to outthink their flat linear thinking. That's why I'm not afraid of artificial intelligence. I'm not afraid of these criminal minds. We got this. We just got to remember, we got this.
Yeah, I think so too. It is waking up, but I was calling it the Great Awakening and the Great Unraveling, and now I'm calling it the Great Apostasy, because that's our hope, is the Great Apostasy from bullshit and coming into light and actual intelligence and human survival of the human species.
It is. We're fighting for our survival. We're fighting for our rights. We're fighting for our birthright, and we're winning because they really can't reach us when what we do is out of love instead of out of fear. It's vibrational. It makes all the difference in the world. It's kind of like when we're fearful, we can't think of a way out. Yeah. But when we get clarity of thought when we're happy, that's when we get the ideas and we get because our brains are firing, So that's our victory. That is.
Blake, are you ritually abusing my granddaughter there?
Okay, here. I wish. I'm about to. She doesn't be quiet. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I don't Beeps her enough. I didn't know you could hear that. No, Hannah's in there. She's Vilda. That's all I'm gonna say. My second born is special.
She's a wild one, Kathy. You got to see this one. You
She's-
won't
I
believe
can't
it.
wait to meet her. I
She's
tell you
someone.
what,
She's
you know,
Junior in every way. She's a whirlwind, tearing shit up and
Yeah.
jumping off shit and causing all kind of trouble for everybody. And then
oh
she,
gosh, your
you when you
granddaughter.
no, yeah, when you
What
say
would you
no
expect?
down.
No,
Huh?
she's Roseanne Jr. and her mother is a lot like my mother. So she's third generation crazy Scorpio lady. I gotta say one more thing.
She just wanted to be part of this.
She does. I'm sorry you could hear your book. So I know this is a short podcast, but you are talking
Yes,
about
3
these,
books.
yeah,
Yes, 3 books.
these methods you're talking about. Where because you're absolutely correct. Like love and self-healing, all this stuff. These methods you're teaching.
Yeah.
Where can people find more information on this? Because this is how we're going to win this war. There's no other way around it.
She's got it. She's got it all.
people-
Thanks to Mark
Yeah, and
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phillips. He said that he just wanted to live long enough to see Trump. What do you call it? Where he's sworn in,
Mhm.
inaugurated.
And yeah, that and when he saw that so many people were awake and aware, they overrode the rigged algorithm to elect him. That was what made a huge difference. He said, "Okay, we've passed critical mass. It's a turning point.
Yeah.
You know, we got this going forward." Because again, you know, going back around to where we started with this, it's going to take each and every one of us. The numbers, it's the people that are going to make the difference. If we had a change of government, it wouldn't have mattered if without the people waking up to realize what's been going on. It would just create a vacuum that would be filled with more of the same corruption if the people didn't wake up to realize what's going on. That's where the true change is. That's where it really happens. And Mark knew that. That's why he was dedicated his whole career to preserving the sanctity of free thought so that we could all have our free will, soul expression, our strength of spirit to live our life the way it was intended. What a noble purpose he lived. And then to release the information by empowering, how lucky am I, my daughter and me to heal with that information. We were able to release it. So it's posted on my website at trance-formation.com. It's PTSD Time to Heal. It has a pay what you can, if you can option, so everyone can have it now regardless of income. You can zero out cost and there's no money trail to you. If
And
need
you
to do
can
it.
also overpay if you have the means.
That's sweet. And you know, there's so many people who can't, who are in a situation where they don't need money trail going to their healing method. And then they know how to do it themselves within.
Right.
They can write out their memory. They don't have to tell anybody they're doing it. They can start healing, identify all abusers so they
Because
don't.
what
skip
Mark
'em.
taught you, and what he taught you was the way they deprogram POWs from being brainwashed, right? And the biggest tool is to write with a paper and pencil, right?
Exactly.
Hmm.
The very act of moving a pen activates the logic critical analysis part of the brain. So it takes fear, trauma, anything emotionally incomprehensible, shifts it over to logic where it's written out on paper, consciously seen, and you got a brain process here of analyzing information that's crucial to healing. It opens neuron pathways in the brain. Then you have healing psychiatrically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, everything all at once, because
And then you
control
heal
shuts it down.
physically. Then you heal
Yeah.
physically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When the neuron pathways are reopened, then we can learn to think again. And so mind control shuts them down. Indoctrination in the school system, they're shutting them down. We need to open them back up. Simple way to do it, get writing by hand back in the school system, and that alone will stop the indoctrination of children.
Wow.
That's a simple little method we all can use that was very deliberately taken out Computers were put in. Keyboards do not do the same thing. Twiddling thumbs on a cell phone does not do the same thing as picking up a pen and paper, sitting in quiet, away from devices, away from noise, away from the frequencies they emit, and sit
Yeah.
there and get our brains working naturally the way that they're supposed to.
Wow.
It's so simple. And
It is.
of course they would have compromised that for us. But I like your workbook. PTSD: A Time to Heal is a workbook also, because
It is.
you write out your experience in it, and it's helped so many people. One thing I like to do is buy a ton of books and give them out to people who need them, and it's helped so many people. So many people have told me how much your book, PTSD: Time to Heal, has helped them, including returning soldiers who got PTSD
Yes.
from having to fight in Iraq and all the places we sent them. It helps them too. It can help a lot of homeless vets too.
It can help a whole lot of the survivors who are stuck in the victim mentality to realize they don't need anyone intruding on their minds. That's adding to the problem, that they can just go within and reclaim their birthright to live free, think free, reclaim their joy, get out in nature, feel the sun on the skin, feel the wind in your hair, breathe it in, all these things make such a big difference. And people have just forgotten that because we've been conditioned to the little looking outside ourselves into devices, and we need to stop that and get back to what's natural.
And if you think about it, these devices, if you pay attention to how social media, especially nowadays, it's being exacerbated with like the Gaza war and all the stuff going around the world, it is trauma-based mind control that you're in micro form all day long. I left social media about 3.5 weeks ago, finally. Because I realized I get on there, I get traumatized, I start arguing, and it's pulling me out of my feeling. And I'm thinking, I think they figured out, the bad guys, that, hey, we don't just have to do satanic ritual pedophilic abuse. We can just fuck with these people on their phones, in their bedrooms, and control their mind.
Yeah, that is what it is.
And they're dividing MAGA now.
Huh?
Well, look at all the snap judgment goes on. Nobody's thinking further. They're just snap judging.
Yep.
And that was intended through these devices. And Mark taught me, he said, from the beginning, voice no negatives without a solution. Not only did that keep me from just complaining all the time and he didn't have to listen to it, but it actually forced my brain to think in new ways and opened more neuron pathways, because I needed to learn how to think. We all do.
Yeah.
We need to reclaim that. And so what if social media had that rule? Voice no negatives without a solution.
God.
Can you imagine how much humanity would change?
That's amazing.
With that one application.
That's
well,
amazing.
it would depend. I have to say it would depend on the solution, because a lot of the solutions that mass media puts out there are satanic too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think we can all think
I
of
think we have to
solutions.
say if it comes from a place of hate, then it's satanic. And I think
Well,
we have to say, I think we also have to say, if you are in a because this is deep philosophy, but I think it's true. If you're in a victim mode, you've fallen right into the lap of the satanic, because the victim mode, thinking like that you're a victim of anything or anyone, unless you truly are. I'm not talking about that. But the victim mode narrative that goes on the internet and TV and all media, that absolves you for any responsibility for the actions you take. Because you're like, I'm oppressed, so I can blah, blah, I can hit, I can commit violence, I can hate, because I'm resisting. But you're not. You fell right into the victim mode, which is satanic thought, because you have to be free of that. You have to be free of that to actually create and live and be joyful human being that lives the love we are, like you say, Cathy.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, definitely that this victim mentality has got to stop, because when people don't know their own truth and they stay in that victim mentality, when people don't know their own truth, they're hanging on to program. And if they got program, they want to share it with everybody and force it on everybody. That's what where all the arguing comes in among survivors. No, you have to look at it my way. You have to buy into my perception because they need validation from outside themselves for the lie that they're following. You know, we need to get through that curve and know our own truth. And that takes going within. When we know our own truth, then we're strong in it. We don't need anybody to validate that for us. We don't have to push it on everyone. That allows everyone to have their own path and heal from within. And it stops this constant bickering that's going on in this overwhelming push of ideas. I think that we saw magnified with mind control masks as a virus. You know, those who bought into the program, those who didn't. You know, mask up. You got to wear your mask. You know, because that was their program. They wanted everybody to buy into that program because they didn't
Why
know the
did they
truth.
want us masked, Cathy?
Because it depersonalizes. It inhibits oxygen to the brain necessary for critical analysis free thought. And it muffles voices, especially from 6 feet away. And the depersonalization it caused, as soon as the children developed identity disorders from it, then that was redefined by the school system as a gender problem, that they had they didn't know their own gender. And so they redefined it so they could push the transgender movement in, which is a pedophile agenda that is also a depopulation agenda rolled into one, because there's no human procreation with it.
Right.
But it's horrible what we did with the children just by masking them up and then putting them behind plexiglass, depersonalizing them till they don't even know who they are, and then telling them it's gender confusion. And the next thing they know, they go from the masks and the plexiglass to stuffing dollars in tranny panties. We've really messed up a generation. We all better wake up, remember who we are and why we're here, reclaim our free thought, and start protecting our children going forward. We got a generation to heal.
Amen.
Big time.
Amen.
Don't you think that the parents of these children that allowed that are under heavy, heavy duty mind control?
They've been indoctrinated and conditioned for so long that they're only now waking up to realize it. You know, like there's so many parents that are dealing with overwhelming grief. They're seeing the results of what happened when they had their kids get the injection and masked them up. They're having to deal with that reality. Now they've got overwhelming grief. You know, again, pick up that pen, write out your grief, write out your guilt, write out your trauma, write out your fear, write out what's immobilizing you, add a solution, you know, and get your brain firing, because we got to make sure that we evolve with the knowledge we just gained and never let this happen again.
Wow. Well said.
What do you think about QAnon, Cathy?
I think that was a way of being able to get a lot of people to open their eyes. It's nothing that I had time to follow in any way, but I understand that the efforts to wake people up and get them to understand the magnitude of the problem that we're unraveling right now had to be come at from a lot of different angles. So instead of, you know, snap judging one thing or the other, we need to expand our thinking and look into, find the truth in everything, and start pulling that together. Because like you were saying at the beginning, Roseanne, it's so perfect. You know, everybody's got to bring their piece of the puzzle to the table so that the big picture comes into focus and we can all be effective, taking back our minds, our lives, and our world.
Here's to that.
Here's to that. Amazing.
I wanted to talk about like how we talk. How long have we been on this, Jake? How long have we been on?
Hour 13. We have a
Okay, well, I want to wrap it up with.
yeah. We can have her back
Uh,
anytime.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
want to come back a lot, but we didn't even get into how me and you talk to each other, which I think maybe next time you come on here, we'll do some of that, because we don't, we're just sharing information today, but we're beyond all that for years. And we're into a whole other realm between me and you, where we are noticing and understanding what our brains in fact are capable of, and we do all kind of thought experiments together just to see how it works, because it is miraculous, ain't it?
It really is. We have been taught that our brains, if we use 10% of our brain, what's the rest of it? I mean, that we've got so much that we have access to. Our life's experience, I think, blasted us into primitive parts of our brain and intuitions and other heightened senses and capabilities that we all have access to. When we remember to use those parts of our brain, we have it's part of our defense mechanism. It's even with survivors who are still in the victim mode, and have the overactive adrenal systems, and they're in fear all the time. If they just, hey, tap into what your brain's got active there and integrate that in and start using it, then you have added defenses, and all of a sudden that alone calms the adrenal system to where the body can heal too. So the mind over body aspect is something everyone needs to tap into. The things you and I talk about are so deep and profound, and I can't wait to be together in person. Maybe we can get into a deep discussion on camera with that kind of stuff. Right now I'm working on another book, Aligned with the Divine Within, that reminds people to use those aspects of the brain that you and I are so aware of and know so much about. So it's
Yeah, because it's not just mind over the physical body you're living in, but it's
right.
actually mind over matter too.
It is, and there's so much synchronicity that, like what you mentioned, that people forget to align with. There's so much possibility and capability that we all have. We've been distracted for so long by these shallow, headline news, snap judgments, social media, and everything else. We need to get back to appreciating the magnitude of what we've been blessed with all along. And I think you and I are real good at sharing that with each other, the exciting things that we have rediscovered about the amazing way that humanity has been made.
I like when we sit on your porch and like we just start thinking about birds, and then birds show up.
Yeah, the vibrational frequencies. Yeah, it's Cherokee sacred land, and like whatever your vibrational frequency is draws particular animals to you. Right now, I've got hummingbirds everywhere, which is a really great frequency that animals come to. Deer, when deer come up in your yard and just walk up to you, it's because your vibration is proper. It's right. You're in a good space, and yeah. So we get to share that when we're together and have that beautiful experience with nature.
It's a mind blower to see. Oh, everything's connected.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. That's the big one that people need to see, and they are so programmed to not see it. But it's not see it. But,
wow.
It's right there. It's right there. If you get over that big hurdle where that system of non-thought tries to control what God gave you, what the universe,
right.
the good in you, the divinity in you. Boy, they don't like any of that. They sure hate that. And but I don't know. Well, it was my great pleasure to introduce you to President Trump. And I want to
that
end by you telling what that was like for you to meet him.
Well, it's a first president I ever met that had soul, like and genuine care and compassion for humanity, and in addition to extremely vast intelligence, it was an amazing experience for me. That was complete opposite of anything that my life had conditioned me to think of someone in his position. And it's not that it was so much a surprise, because I knew that these perpetrators feared him. I knew that he was vastly different from them. I knew that Mark was real excited about the prospects of what was to come. So it was just a validation of the beauty that life really does have to offer when we dare to open our eyes and see beyond what we think we know.
Oh, that is so great. What a great way to end it. I love you so much. Oh, what your other book is there's Transformation of America, and what's the other one? I can't remember.
PTSD, A Time for Healing.
And the other one, Cathy.
Access denied for reasons of national security. That's the journey, Mark's in my journey through the corrupted justice and mental health system to help my daughter Kelly. So it shows the corruption of child protective services, of the roots of it, how they do it, and what we did to kick down doors and make our way through it. So yeah, it's a timely book for right now. It's like a roadmap into the corruption, into the system, and what we can do about it.
Well, thank you for kickstarting this whole Great Awakening movement for the 40-some years you've been at it, and for all of the humiliation that has been heaped on you by these people who are on the wrong side of life, history, humanity. But here you are, and you look better than ever, and I love you, and thanks for being on today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. You're amazing. I love you.
Love you.